Okay, guys, I finally found it, and sorry about that. It's just did not remember it being here. So it is in our pivot table. So right now we have the full list of everybody, but we just want the top 10 for this graph. If you come over here, you'll notice this little drop down. So we can go to value filters, and if you do the drop down, come to value filters, we have several things we could filter on, but one of them, one of the defaults, is top 10. Simple as that. So it'll bring up this box. Hey, top 10 agents. You can make it 8. You can make it 5. Now, I'm noticing, so I was going to default to top 10, but there's quite a few here, little ones. Really, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, maybe 7, maybe 8 at best, like good ones, and then it definitely gets slim. So maybe let's do the top 7. 7 seems like a nice a number. Then there's definitely a drop off, or maybe even 5. But I mean, 5 would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It'd be these 5 guys. I mean, whoever's green here, green's no agent list. I feel like we should definitely have that. So let's just do 7 and see how it looks. Lot cleaner, guys. Like, the numbers are contained for the most part within their categories. This is very representative of almost all the commissions. If you remember, the total is only 1.1 something. Here we have 1.085. So we have the majority of the actual dollars of commissions represented here. Now, I would change my title here. Top total. Let's make this top 7 commission earners. So there we go. So that way somebody looking at this chart now knows these are the top 7 and how much they earned in commission. Let's clean up the look here a little bit. So now this is a little bit spread out. We don't need this quite as long anymore, since we only have 7 people on here. As well, let's center this a little bit more. I want to center it more over the actual chart itself. All right, and now people can come here, they can reference this. So perfect, so we have our first chart. So let's go ahead, save this. And now I also want to rename this tab. I mean, we've kind of left it sheet 2 for a good while. The way you rename a tab, if you just double click on it, honestly, guys, or you can right click just to show you that, rename. You can do things like move, etc. But for rename, or just double click it. So this is going to be top 7 commission earners. All right, so we have our first chart. So let's make a few, and then a few different ones using different pivot tables, and then we'll create a dashboard. And I mean, we only need a few for you to get the idea. So whether we create 3 or 20, it's not going to matter, other than it's going to take a lot of time. So we'll probably just create maybe 2, maybe 3 more, just so we have something to put on a dashboard. So in this video, let's try to see if we can just to show you. We spent a lot of time kind of quickly, or not quickly, sort of taking our time building this, figuring out a few of those issues. Now that we have the tools in our tool belt, let's go through and let's make a quicker pivot table. So this is commission earners. What's something else? I want to see the average list price by neighborhood. I'm curious what that's going to come out like. So let's create a new one. So let's start here. Let's do what we did before. Click pivot table. You see it selected that same data range. I'm good with that in a new worksheet. Perfect. I'm going to go ahead and rename this tab right away. Average list price by neighborhood. All right, guys. So I'm kind of going fast on purpose. I just want to kind of show you, once you get going and once you kind of master this, it's really pretty quick to put together. So we're going to put our neighborhoods down the left-hand side, and you see there's quite a few. So this company worked in multiple states. Actually, they worked around the U.S. At the time, though, I think they were only in several states. So we have 159 different areas. So this one might be a little bit out of control. But let's just see what happens, first of all. And we said list price. I want to see what the average list price. Now, that's our sum of our list price. So we want to format this, and we might actually lose the formatting when we do this. So average, and we did. So let's also sort this from highest to lowest and just see what happens. All right, so there's some big areas, obviously, with $1 million homes. The average list price, and these are all in Washington State in the United States. I can tell you that some of these are definitely nicer areas. So, I mean, while those are big, I mean, there's quite a few. So this report didn't really work out for us, did it? I mean, there's just too many I mean, there's 159 total areas listed, 157 have values. It's too much data, guys, for somebody to go through. So let's rethink what we might want to do. And I did actually kind of know that in advance. I just want to show you what you can do. I mean, let's quickly put it together, go, okay, well, this doesn't really help us. I mean, it might help somebody doing some market research. Doesn't really help us for creating a kind of a nice summary report. No, what would work, though, is property type. It looks like there's only a few different types. It looks like, there's condos, residential, and there's resale condos and houses. Let's give that a try. And the nice thing is we already have a report here. So all we have to do is instead of, put property type down here. Let's take neighborhood out. And hey, here we go. All right, let's see what's happening here. Let's sort this. Let's do our formatting once again. All right, I mean, 29 items. Still a little bit long. It looks like there's a bunch of blanks. We'd have to fix those if we want to go with this report. What I also don't like is it seems like there's pretty inconsistent naming within the fields. So I'm kind of torn on this one. I think if it was a small subset, I'd be okay with it. But because there's so many, and I feel like there's probably a lot of overlap, and there's so many here that are, iffy. Like, is a condo the same as a resale condo? And what's a And, there's resale condo with lowercase, uppercase. Would have to do a bit of work. So in the real world, obviously, if that's something we really wanted, we could go and try to fix those, and we'd have to do some work with somebody. There's neighborhood. That's the one we already looked at, so we don't want that. Last name's probably not going to give us much information because that's the last name of the buyer or seller. And, I mean, every single person's probably going to be different. There might be a few of the same. One thing I do notice is offer status. It looks like they have nice, consistent use of naming conventions. There's only about 10 of them. So what could we look at? We could look at average price by offer status. Would that be useful? Maybe final price. Let's see what else we have, guys. I also noticed there was type of buyer. We could do, what might be interesting is type of buyer and the average, let's say list price. Let's go with list price just because. So let's try type of buyer. Where is it? Here we go. Buyer type. We're going to ditch property type. All right. This is looking promising, guys. I'm not going to resort it at this point. There's a lot of blanks. Bogus. So bogus is interesting because I know bogus means those are offers people put in that they weren't legitimate. Obviously, they were bogus offers. What's funny, though, is it's such a large amount, and the reason for that is because people put in bogus amounts. So one thing we might want to do here is a couple things, actually. One, we're going to filter out bogus averages. We don't, they're useless anyways. They don't add any value for us. The other thing is we need to do something with these blanks. So before we went to the data and we kind of sorted and filtered, another way, just so you know, if you double click on any value in a pivot table, and I should have shown you this a long time ago, it'll actually show you what makes up that value. So if we double click on first time buyers, now it's going to be quite a few. It pulls and it creates a new sheet. It pulls every single data point that adds up to that. So there's quite a few, there's 106. Now you have to remember too, this made a new sheet of data. So you can't actually do that and then edit these. It's not going to reflect in your original data because this isn't your original data. This is just a sheet. So I'm going to delete this. I am going to rename this. Let's go with this. This is buyer type average list price. But we're going to do a few things. So first of all, let's sort our data by buyer type. Go to our custom sort. This time we're going with buyer type. Okay, so first time buyer is great. Let's see. Bogus. So bogus, we're just going to filter those out. We're not going to actually, you see there's only a handful. And if we come over here just to see what they are, yeah, so you have like an $18.5 million one. These aren't too unreasonable, but this one is what's really goofing it up. So, but again, any bogus offer, not really much value. Experienced buyer looks like quite a few. Investors, and then we have all these blanks. So instead of just saying blank again, let's put buyer type not listed. And we'll just go down to the bottom here, and it looks like that's quite a few. So that means the people, whatever survey they filled out, just didn't say what they were, what their experience was. So let's go back here. So first of all, let's refresh this. 2, let's filter this out. So down here again, if we use our drop down, we can just uncheck bogus, and there we go. Let's do a couple other things. Let's sort this. Largest to smallest. Let's format it. I'm going to take out the cents, and then let's do a quick pivot chart. Let's just see. So this is kind of useful. What else we got? We got our pie chart. Just to mix it up, I kind of like our column. There's also bar, which does it this way. That might be interesting. Let's see, column. Column kind of presents a bit better. So let's go with column. Let's move this over here. We'll even type this. This is average list price by buyer type. So a few things, guys. We can get rid of total because really it's just one total, or it's actually an average. We can also, I believe, let's see if we can do this. Expand. Actually, that's not what I wanted. If we go to format, what I really want to format, okay. So there's a lot of empty space on this. I want these big blue bars to be even bigger, less space. So you see here, series overlap, gap width. Let's start reducing the gap width. Actually, let's just make this, there's even a slider here. Let's just see how that fans out. A little bit nicer there. So we can probably go down to something like 50% even. All right, so let's do that. Let's close that. There we go. That's a little bit cooler. All right, buyer type, etc. But perfect. So the average. So an experienced buyer, the average list price is a little bit higher. Buyer type not listed, quite a few. Investors, then first timers. So it kind of makes sense, doesn't it? First time buyers are buying on average cheaper listed prices. So I like that information. So we're going to use that in our report. Now I see this video is completely way too long, so I'm going to end this one, and then in the next video we'll pick up and make let's make at least one more pivot table of useful information.